It's Thanksgiving week, and we have the machine in the house on today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. So, November 24th, Thanksgiving week. My name's Charles Ray Dawson. I am the residential sales manager and associate broker for ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, and this is episode 43. It's Thanksgiving, so running things really tight and short this week. In-laws are in town, so interacting with the family is always a plus of this holiday. And we have, since I dropped these things on Thursday, and I figured a lot of people are not going to be watching me after they eat turkey and watch football and everything, I'm going to keep this episode short. So just going to go straight to the numbers, and then we're going to cover another of the actors, one of the characters on Glengarry, Glen Ross. And from there on out, wrap up at the end. So let's start with the numbers and then straight into Glengarry, Glen Ross. Now the numbers for November 24th, 2021. Actives this week are 7,022, which is down 262 from the week before. And new listings were 2,066, down 223. Pendings last week were 2,009, up 74. Under contract looking for backups are 1,090, down 110. Contracts with buyer contingencies are at 90, down 12. Closings last week were 2,561, which is up 381. And coming soon to an MLS near you are 638 new listings. The next person that we're going to cover in our review of Glengarry, Glen Ross is going to be Jack Lemmon's Shelley the Machine Levine. Now, this gentleman right here, Jack Lemmon, plays this character. He did not win an Oscar for this role. He did get nominated for several awards from other organizations. Really, really fun character. Give you a little bit of background. Shelley here, the machine, his issue that he's having is that he used to be a high producer, and now he's having a run of bad luck. He's trying to leverage his previous performance with his office manager and trying to weasel him into getting some of the good leads from him. The aspect of his character, you almost get the sense of this whole thing is that while the industry around him has moved on, while the customer base has gotten more sophisticated, he's still stuck playing the same instrument and the same skill set that he had at the beginning. That might have worked 5, 10, 15 years ago. But now he's sitting there, really, he's too old to change. He really can't convert over into the new way of marketing. And it's starting to show. Over the course of this thing, you see this guy weasel. You see him really practice some horrible sales techniques. And I'm not just talking from the standpoint of that sucks as a salesperson, but more along the lines of that sucks as being a human being. But the main thing about him that I want you to watch, I got a scene that really sort of emphasizes what I'm talking about. And he is going to do what's called a cold call approach. Now, in the play, if you look between the lines and everything like that, this individual that the machine here is going to interact with is on a mailing list, is on a call list, and he has been hounded by sales agents before in the past, and he's really frustrated with it. All right. But Shelley here is out. He's on a mission. He's got to get something closed. Right, his job's on the line, and there's a couple other things that in the movie, they wrote a couple extra scenes in and give him more of a depth and more of a background. So you really so the audience knows what his motivation is. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch the scene of Shelley here on a cold call. Spoiler alert, he's going to crash and burn on this. And afterwards, I'm going to describe to you how you see these guys in today's market.
Mr. Spano? Sheldon Levine. I was speaking to your wife earlier. Come in. That's as though, yes. Oh, I see you're interested in fishing. Oh, well, I fished myself many years.
One of the things right there I wanted to point out is the calling out of the the fishing pole and everything. This is something that salespeople do. Whether or not you're buying a car, you're buying a house, you're buying a new jacket, they're going to try to come up with a little point of commonality, right? If I can make you think that we have something in common, that's going to make you a lot more open to going along with anything I suggest, like driving that car off the lot. So that's the first thing he does. Right in the door, it's like, ooh, wow, fishing. And I'm going to mention fishing, something else. So, hey, look, now we have something in common.
Where's the business?
Not at the PTA. What was this in reference?
Well, I spoke to your wife earlier on the phone. I'm in town with Rio Rancho.
Yes, I'm sorry. She said you had some award.
I was speaking to the people in my sales organization, my representatives in this area. Now, Mr. Spannell, your name is Larry. Do you mind if I call you Larry? All right.
Okay, so what he just did is he just gave us, he just made a small ask. Can I get a favor from you? That favor is, can I call you Larry? Right? Something else he teaches in these sales things. I mean, the internet is full of channels of how to master sales techniques. I like to watch them just so I know when somebody's hitting me up with a sales technique, I know exactly what they're doing. It makes it incredibly easy to say no. Sometimes it's a lot of fun afterward and say no, but you did a great job, right? You hit all you hit all the high points. You established familiarity. You did a couple small asks. You'll see that whole thing out there where it's like every yes or every no is one step closer to yes. All right. They'll try to get you to say yes 3 or 4 times in a row. Are you alive? Yes. Do you like living? Yes. All right. Do you drive a car? Yes. How'd you buy this car? That kind of stuff. So this is step number 2. All right. He just sit there. He's done the, hey, we got some of the common. Hey, can I ask you for a favor? Can I call you Larry? Right? And people like to hear their names, right? That's something else they teach you on these things. It's like if you say the person's name over and over again, they're more likely to be predisposed to you because everybody loves the sound of their name. Let's continue on.
Larry, we had a consultant, and he made me an offer. He offered me $230,000 to promote a sales plan, you see. A plan to present our investment opportunities at Rio Rancho to the public. Well, I said, hell, let me save you the $230 and pass the savings along to the investors. Now, my people immediately said, whoa, how do you do that? How can you present investment opportunities without television, without magazine ads? I said, you take something this good, you go to a man, has invested in the past, you go to him direct and offer the money to him. Rebates. And don't give it to this expert.
So you're here to sell me some land?
No, I would.
That the person in here that the machine's pitching to did a great job of reframing there. All right. Jack Lemmon's character here is trying to frame this as this is a golden opportunity. All right. And the buyer ain't buying it. He took it straight down and cut it right down and framed it into, oh, you want to sell me some land. Now watch him try to get out of the buyer's frame here.
Wouldn't try to sell you land. I leave that to the salesmen, the people who want to own land. I think something has to be fed, watered, and painted, but don't invest in it, and that motto has stood me in good stead.
Mr.
Just call me Shelley. I have never been afraid of familiarity.
I'm walking out the door. I've got to pick up my wife at the...
Let's take my car. We'll pick her up together. Spoke to the little woman on the phone. Can't wait to meet her.
We're going over to our relatives.
Oh, she didn't say anything.
I'm sure she forgot.
On a plane to Florida.
Well, I'm so sorry if we put you out.
No, you didn't put me out. And I'm just trying to think, Larry. That's the only parcel that I've got. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to the computer. I'm going to pull another one, and we're going to speak to your relatives, too. Now, come on. You're a busy man, Larry, and so am I. My God, I'm in the act of giving a gift away.
Look, I don't want to buy land. I don't want to invest in land. I have nothing. She took the call without my knowledge. I have no business that I wish...
In the background, if you listen, there is the sound of a bell tolling. Some people have suggested that that's the morning bells, as if somebody was having a funeral, because what you are looking at is you're looking at the death of a sale.
I don't want to tell you how to handle your wife.
My wife filled in a form, and we have been plagued for the last year by...
That's the situation that I'm trying to...
No. Do you understand? Thank you, no.
Same thing. The director on this is very, very big on eye contact. All right. Notice that thing. He's saying no, but he's actually looking away from him at the same time. All right. The saying no, he is actually begging for Jack Lemmon's character to leave. All right. And it's almost a pleading thing at this point. He's done, he's done a very good job maintaining his frame, saying no, get out, and now he's at the point where it's like, it's the deaf stand-up kind of time, and he can't look him in the eye. Like I said, if you watch this movie, watch the eye contact through the whole thing. It's amazing, these little mannerisms that they have in there, which you start seeing all the characters do. And if you notice, he's not looking him in the eye now that he's accepted that he is leaving and that he has lost, and now he's the defeated person here. And scene. So let's have a conversation about the machine. I showed you that to tell you this. That particular sales technique is the kind of sales technique they used to teach you back in the 50s and 60s. They still teach it in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and you can still find it on the internet today. And a whole bunch of people out there are trying to get into sales, and whatever they could be selling Rolexes, they could be selling Lexuses, they could be selling a used Hyundai, right? They do these things. Right? And once you look at it and once you realize what they're doing, you actually become sort of up-armored against it. Like I said, I talk to a lot of salespeople. All right, I talk to salespeople to practice learning how to say no. When I will go on a car lot, and if there's any car salesman out there, yeah, I'm that guy. I'm literally coming onto that lot to look at the pretty cars and to practice saying no to people. And in this particular case, what used to work for the machine in the past is no longer working for him now. And that leads us to your main takeaway on Shelley the Machine. All right, Shelley the Machine Levine suffers from a critical case of what I call Lexus Syndrome. And what Lexus Syndrome is it's when a sales agent gets a couple really good deals or a couple really good years. They're riding high, life is going good, and they do two things. They don't update their skill set when the customer base changes and moves on in sophistication. Right? They stay doing exactly what they're doing before. Some of them are just like, nah, I ain't doing any of that fancy real estate stuff with all the computers. I'm old school. All right, I just look it up in the big books and I go out there and show houses. Right? They start and are slowly petering out because they're not keeping up with the new ways of promoting themselves. Right? Good portion of a realtor, a real estate agent's job is getting the next deal. Right? Because once you close with those guys, you close Friday night, you hand them the keys, you give them the housewarming gift, you shake their hands, maybe hug them if you're at that point in the relationship, and you drive away. And Monday morning you wake up unemployed because you have nobody to work with. These agents out there, you have to keep feeding your hopper. And that's one of the most important things you can do when you're starting out brand new, is realizing you have to start getting not this week's deal, not this month's buyer or seller. You need to be looking out a year in advance. When you talk to somebody and that somebody is saying, hey, we're not ready to go, we just signed a lease and it's not going to be up for 10 months, what that means to you is that that's a 10 month down the road closing. And you need to take them, you need to nurture them, you need to get them in your pipeline with your lender. You need to get your lender going over their credit already, making sure that they're ready to go. So when it is time for them to buy, you're going to be top of mind, you're going to be there, and you're going to be able to take them on that journey. Right? But when you're just sitting there and just looking at the now, right, you wind up in trouble. Now, the reason why I call this a Lexus Syndrome is because at a certain point, when an agent is riding really, really high, they start thinking, hey, Lexus, lease payment's only $550 a month. I can do that and I'll look like a rock star. Or whatever the car might be, right? But they might buy a bigger house because their income is really good that year. But when that income starts slipping because either they haven't been feeding their pipeline properly or the market takes a turn or whatever reason, they start getting in trouble. there's a lot of bankruptcies in real estate. A lot of agents wind up going bankrupt because their expense level was up here when they were making money up here, and then they go for a little while down here, and sooner or later the bottom falls out and they crash. So Shelley here is a really, really great example of somebody with that Lexus Syndrome. He's no longer thinking about servicing the client. He's no longer thinking about getting the client an investment opportunity, making them money. He's all about the closing. He's all about his commission check that he's going to get at the end of the day. And you can see that in his eyes. You can hear it in his voice. And I can hear it when I'm talking to an agent on the phone. You start seeing that whole thing pick up, and it's like, this person's got, this person really is working this deal hard. And they're no longer looking out after the best interests of their clients. So, Lexus Syndrome and Shelley the Machine Levine. And as you watch the movie, you'll see the depths that he will sink to and the things he will do to try to recover. Now, I did say the play is different than the movie. In the movie, there's a revelation that explains why he's so desperate. But honestly, I don't think they needed to put that part in there a lot. This is a guy who's sitting on a donut at the end of the month, and he's got to close or die. And that's Shelley the Machine Levine. Just to wrap up on the machine, now that I've watched the video and what I recorded, something I'd like to emphasize is that Shelley was probably, once upon a time, a really great real estate agent. That's given to us in the movie. He's constantly referring to his days of glory. And now he's on the skids. And like I said, that comes from two things. He didn't keep up with the times. He didn't keep up with the new transitions in the industry. And two, he has Lexus Syndrome. Now, what I've discovered and what I proselytize and preach is that your number one way to keep from getting Lexus Syndrome, if you're going to be in this industry, is play really good defense. And what I mean by that, defense is a term that I get from the book, The Millionaire Next Door. It was written by, let's see, I got my notes right here, Thomas Stanley and William Pankow. And these were two economists who started interviewing millionaires for an advertising campaign. They wanted to specifically market a product to millionaires. And they discovered something really interesting, is that the people that they thought were millionaires weren't millionaires. They had sent out this invitation for these people to come in, and they'd paid a lot of money for a fancy bar with all these fancy drinks and caviar and this and that and the other thing. But the people who showed up, they were in blue jeans, they were in work boots, they didn't want champagne and caviar, they would have been happy with nachos and Bud Light. And so that made them go down this rabbit hole of finding out that the real millionaires out there, people with a net worth of more than $1 million, were people who had a lot of things in common. And one of the things that they had in common across the board is that they did not live in the most expensive neighborhoods, and they did not drive the most expensive luxury cars. They played defense. They were good at acquiring money, but they were more skilled at not spending money. They drove American steel, American-made cars that you could get cheaper than luxury German cars. They lived in regular residential households, but what they did have is a whole bunch of zeros at the end of their bank account. So when you're out here, when you're getting started in the real estate industry, you need to remember the bad times are coming. Winter is coming, right? And we store our food for when winter hits. House dark for the win. So thank you very much, guys. Wrapping this week up and everything like that. Catch you next week. I'm going to try to do the final two characters in Glengarry, Glen Ross next week, and then move on to bigger and better things. Have a great Thanksgiving. Do not get into any fights with family members over politics. Remember, politicians come and go. Family's eternal. And have a great weekend.